Well, Snow, this is the time of year where we usually scale back on the podcast. You know what I mean? We take a little bit of a summer break.
But due to current events.
I was going to say it was going really slow until a few days ago.
Yeah.
So, and we got our resident expert, Jim Foley, on the phone, U.S. Navy. Welcome, Jim.
Yay!
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So after the poor debate performance, there was it kind of really looked like the Democrats were going to replace Biden with somebody else, right?
Yeah, I mean, there were certainly calls for that, and I think it's typical of the Democratic Party, the introspective thing they do, being all wholesome and everything. It sometimes goes too far. You've got to sometimes dance with who you brought. And we're at that point. So I'm not sure what the drama was about or how sincere that was, but that was strange to have that kind of like they just met the guy yesterday. They work with President Biden every week and talk to him and negotiate with him, and they were acting like they didn't know his state of mental acuity or something. That was really off key to me, to be honest.
So at no point did you feel nervous about it? Because I know Snow and I did. We were kind of like, oh shit.
Oh, completely nervous going into the debate that we would see that version of Joe Biden where he was distracted and lost his chain of thought and didn't have a clear, strong voice or something. He certainly didn't exude any confidence. So I was I was concerned going into the debates that we'd have that kind of performance, and that was worst case scenario, quite frankly. He did horrible.
Yeah.
I'm an objective guy. I can tell when somebody does well. I've been watching Joe Biden since he was probably, for 40 years that I've been interested in politics. And he has nights like that. And that was one of them, and it sucked. It hurt him politically.
Yeah.
Put a lot of fear in the party.
Now, here's the thing that I think is lost on a lot of people, okay? The three of us, there's no question who we're voting for. Right. And I think every Democrat, there's no question who you're voting for at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, democracy is on the ballot.
Yeah. But what I'm talking about is the 10, 15, 20% of people who are somehow at this point undecided for whatever reason. That was the part that I'm concerned about.
Same here, because obviously I'm going to vote for Joe Biden, but I was watching the debate. That was my whole thought, is the people who don't pay attention at all. And then they're just going to see clips of, because that's what the campaign ads are going to be, that Trump's going to air is just pictures of Biden when he looked confused or was sitting there with his mouth open. And the people who don't pay attention to issues, anything like that, there's a good chance that they could ruin this. That it could be that all based off of looks. Because I'm thinking about too, when it was Kennedy versus Nixon. Not that I was alive, but that was one of the first times that people saw the debates on TV, and, they had this good-looking guy going up against this guy who was
Nixon.
Sweaty
Nixon.
And sweaty
Yeah.
ugly.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, so it's more the optics of that is what I was afraid of.
True, and we're there, right? As a society, we're voting for the prom king at this point, it feels like. Wisdom, knowledge, experience. those aren't really
human
requirements
decency
for the job. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, swing for the
Right.
fences.
Yeah.
But just to have our democracy continue on, I feel some sort of obligation, whether it be Joe Biden or if the Democratic Party's in a revolt succeeded in giving us a vice president, Kamala Harris, as our candidate. Regardless, I think, like you said, the three of us here are on board with Donald Trump not overthrowing the United States Constitution.
Correct.
That's kind of foundational. So, everybody's really kind of locked into that partisanship. So that segment you're talking about, Mike, is just how many people are really on that fence between these contrasts of Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
I think you'd be surprised.
Well, I hate to hear that. I have to admit I am in my own bubble. I work on a military installation, and, people that I surround myself with, they at least know what the fuck's going on, I guess. But it's weird to me to think that people would be in the mindset that that's going to work for them. That throwing all this away is going to, even just short term, what are the benefits of that going to be? You don't have black people in the movie theater anymore or something? Where are you going? This is garbage. This is not governing. This is just racism and authoritarianism.
I don't think, though, people don't pay attention to the issue, though.
I don't think that a lot of these folks that we're speaking of, too, the ones who are kind of like sitting things out or living under rocks, that's what it seems like. They have no clue about like 2025. Well, I think I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers that they just don't vote. That's shitty to say too, because you want people to vote and participate. That's why we want a democracy. But it's like they probably wouldn't even know what 2025, that it was even a thing. Project 2025 was even a thing. They're that checked out. Like they're more into watching like kitty videos on TikTok or whatever, they don't care.
Like, let's go back to like the 2000 election. And I believe at the time, more people voted for American Idol than voted in the election.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that
yeah.
It is.
It's very embarrassing.
We've ever had for a presidential election. And
right.
Really, I saw that, and I think we all understand that historically now as a mandate. That wasn't because people were excited about Joe Biden. He wasn't any more exciting 3.5 years ago as he is now. But people turned out 82 million, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that was because they were terrified of what they had seen for 4 years of Trump.
Okay.
And you're going to see that again. That's going to happen again.
Okay.
We're going to have people turn out for that.
But another recent example would be people who voted for Obama in 2012 turned around and voted for Trump in 2016.
True. Yeah,
or
you did have that contrast. And some of it was the Hillary hate thing. You have to admit there was a lot of propaganda. That was a whole new experience in an American political season. We'd never had that kind of 4 years set up to this woman as the Antichrist kind of thing. That was bizarre. And then you had Russian interference. I've been around for a few elections. When was the last time we had a foreign entity actually put their finger on the scale of our election? Before 2016.
But
that anybody's ever talked about, ever in history.
But that would go to social media, that issue.
And there's people like my dad who did exactly like what all of us did in 2020 and voted more for Joe Biden to keep Trump out. But now, this election cycle, he's flat out said, I'm not voting for either one of them because they're both old. Like, he refuses, and I go, but you're doing the same thing that you did in the 2016, because he sat the presidential election out because he did not want to vote for Hillary Clinton because he didn't like her. And he sat there the whole time and said, well, there's no way that Trump's going to win anyways. And then I called him like the day that we found out that he won. And I was like, so Dad, you said he wasn't going to win. Are you still glad that you fucking sat that one out? It's like, there's no talking to him either. He's like, I don't care what you say. I'm not going to vote. And I'm like, well, you don't have that much to risk. Like, I mean, if we're going off of odds, I'm not sitting there trying to say, obviously he's more towards the end of his life. He's old. He's in his 70s right now. Yeah. And I'm like, what about your daughters? What about us? What about people younger than us? They don't care. Some of these people are going that route too. I've heard a bunch of folks like that. Well, I'm going to vote for every other office except for president. I'm not voting for them because they won't put younger people.
Sarah is so foreign to me. I don't even know how to respond. I mean, even before I was in the military, just being an American that stood up every morning and recited the Pledge of Allegiance and put his hand over his heart during the national anthem. I mean, since I was a child, since I was a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout and a Navy recruit, there's never been a time in my life that I would have ever had to wrestle with the idea of what side I'd be on of the Constitution and preserving our democracy and being a good citizen and stuff. I just, we're all like in our mid-50s here or younger. You guys are probably a little younger than me. But, geez, I mean, what have we become? This is so foreign.
It's insane. Yeah. And he had the nerve to question my patriotism. I was pissed. I'm like, don't even talk to me about my patriotism. You're not even voting for fucking president, so you don't get to say anything to me.
Well,
you still vote.
Maybe we're better off by those who don't support him. At least you're not seeing that vote go towards him. And I'm with you on every vote towards preserving democracy needs to be cast. Hold your nose and vote for Joe Biden if you're somebody that, just doesn't put yourself in that column. But gosh, man, we got to pass this on to our kids. This is our responsibility. Other generations have done so and sacrificed greatly during World War II and stuff, died to defend our way of life. This is our turn.
Yeah.
Right now, right here.
Like D-Day. They were suckers and losers. Apparently.
Yeah, man.
Well, according to Trump, yes.
I've stood on those beaches. I served on USS Normandy. I did an entire tour in the Navy on USS Normandy. So, I mean, anybody that says that, square up, man. Those people fought and died. Those were young people, young men. They died for our freedom. We owe them that respect.
And to have somebody say that who got out of serving because of bone spurs is like the biggest punch in the gut. I mean, it's like you should just keep your comments to yourself.
Yeah.
When you didn't even step up.
The reason the military is because of that jealousy, because it's something he never had the courage to do. And just for the record, I'm on the draft board. Donald Trump got 5 deferments. 4 of them were academic, which he didn't qualify for. That's why his grades are secret. And the last one was bone spurs. But yeah, he did avoid the 5 separate deferments, which is all of them. He's a louse. He's a draft dodger. He's a coward. Over.
Yeah.
So this brings us to Saturday, and not like we're already doom and gloom about the election, but then Saturday happens, and let me be the first to say that I am glad he's okay, because I would not want to know what we would look like today. If we thought January 6th was bad, could you imagine what it would look like if this kid
he was
succeeded?
Assassinated, right?
Yeah. We're not going to say this kid's name.
Right.
Yeah, there's no good that comes from political assassination, political violence. No. I'm a proponent of diplomacy and in our way of negotiating and gentlemanly conduct and all that stuff. And that's a tradition about American politics that I most endear, to be honest with you. Just because we can, resort to punching one another in the mouth and get nowhere, or we can talk. And if you're a student of history and you really admire the works of our founding fathers and the Federalist Papers and the things that are the foundation to our democracy, if you really, if that stuff gives you goosebumps, that's how you see government, as a functional thing, as brilliant men and women coming up with brilliant ideas ahead of their time. So when we resort to this kind of violence, it's just so sickening, because it can't win. I don't care if you're on the succeeding side, the winning side. It destroys all of our freedoms, all of our faith in humanity, all that stuff. So I have no place for it.
Okay, and let's just get to the point. We're not going to mention the guy's name, but
sure.
This is America. This is how America is now. Now, this guy is the typical 20-year-old kid, mentally disturbed, gets a hold of an AR-15, and it seems like all these mentally deranged people try to one-up each other. And what would be the biggest thing that one of these deranged people could do is if he succeeded on Saturday?
Of course. I mean,
Right.
if you're somebody seeking that kind of idol status in history, that you changed something and you shot some super important person like Donald Trump, I mean, it would really, that's idolism. That's a projection that you're going to change history. And, because all the complexities about him being a right-leaning, registered Republican, all that stuff,
Right.
There's never any justification that really connects the dots for sane people that society accepts. It is always something crazy and disjointed. And, Hinckley tried to shoot Reagan because he was hoping that an actress would
Jodie
know.
Foster.
Jodie Foster, yeah, it was all over.
I mean, how do you rationalize that shit?
Well, yeah, it's
So-
just crazy. That's what it is. It's just nuts.
Well, and so we're never going to be satisfied with this. We're always seeking that kind of definitive answer. Was this some sort of partisan attack, and was it inspired by the Democrats, or any of that stuff? None of it will be answered. It's some weirdo that just got crazy and got way too close to succeeding and shaping American history.
But I think the point that you made is an important part, that this guy was a registered Republican, because if he was a registered Democrat, it would be a whole nother story.
I think that was the first thing my wife said was, God, please let this person just be one of their, MAGA, gun, crazy people, and not let him be the person be some sort of, political activist on the left, because this will be the spark to the fuse. This will do it. I'm with you there. Look at the odds of that, and with the probability, if you just step back and do it as a mathematical thing, well, those are the people that perpetuate all this violence in America. Why not this time?
And what's funny is that, like, notable people in their party are still trying to blame Democrats for this, though. I mean,
Right.
I'm like, it was
Kinda gross.
one of your own that did this. It wasn't some lunatic lefty that did
Right.
it.
And to be fair, the Democrats clearly weren't the ones who started the violent rhetoric in campaign ads. You had Marjorie Taylor Greene blowing up
Priuses
blowing
with
up
her
Priuses.
with her AR-15, saying there's a liberal. I mean, she's calling it the car basically a liberal because it's a
Electric,
hybrid
yeah.
electric. So
Yeah, we all know how we got here.
Yeah.
That language has amplified over the last just couple of years. So, I mean, right when Obama was elected, the report was revealed. It was actually conducted during the George W. Bush years. under Secretary Chertoff. And it revealed that white nationalists, this kind of terrorism threat, this growing thing, was a problem. And that was like 2006. So this is, for all of us flat-footed here, come on. And they know this is their last-ditch effort. If there's ever going to be white supremacy in this nation, Christian nationalism, this is it. It's the last hitch. They're not going to get another crack at this, and they know that. So the desperation is out there, and they're throwing everything at it. And it's grotesque. It's terrible.
Yeah. Now,
and you don't even know the motive of this shooter may have even been inspired to ignite Trump's, he could have just been trying to help him. You don't have any idea where this guy's mindset was.
Right.
Yeah. Now, there was, before we get into the staging, there was how Trump had gotten down, and when he was able to get up and regain his shoes and everything like that, I'm not making fun of him, and he was defiant, and he raised his fist. Now, I'm going to speak from experience here. I was involved in a shooting that was a near miss, and I felt it whiz right by my temple. I think I even felt it nick my hair. And my first thought after that was, I was mad. I was so mad. I had so much adrenaline in me. So I understand why there's well, it had to be staged because he would have been scared. I'm like, no. A near miss like that, you have all this adrenaline running through your body and stuff like that. And I don't blame him for being pissed.
Yeah. Fair enough. Everybody responds to different situations. I mean, I've been in some terse conditions at sea and fires and aircraft crashes. I've seen some people fall up in a fetal position that you never would have thought it happened. And I've seen other people pick up the fire hose and charge into danger. I mean, you really don't know what's going to happen with somebody. So I accept Trump's mannerisms as his own. Whatever you were feeling, somebody knocked you down and you got up and you pissed.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
But don't you think that photo of him with his fist up in the air, blood running down his ear, and American flag, I mean, that's kind of an iconic photo. I felt at that moment, I was like, this is where we lose. We're going to lose this election. I mean, I've had a couple days to process it, and I'm more hopeful now. But at the moment, I was like, oh no.
I wonder if he's going to cut up his shirt into little pieces like he did with the suit and sell it to people. Have my blood stain.
Yeah.
There's got to be a money motivation behind it when it's Trump,
Or no, here's even better, that because they were criticizing he didn't have blood on his sleeve, but the Secret Service actually had a towel up to his ear.
Oh, they're going to sell that towel.
Yeah.
Chop it up into tiny pieces.
You sell that towel on DonaldTrump.com?
Yeah.
Come on. To the
that
highest one.
doesn't really help his case and sincerity and address the real issue, which is, political violence is a real threat. Isn't he afraid of being shot again? I mean, I would be. I've been in those situations. I've been under gunfire.
Okay.
I've been in combat zones.
Okay.
That shit sucks.
Has he tweeted yet?
I can give you a little bit of experience there. About 6 hours later, when that adrenaline wore off, that's when it hit me, and I was just holy shit.
Has he tweeted yet? I don't follow him, so has he even made any statements?
He made
I find it hard that he's shutting up.
After Biden's speech last night, where Biden called for everybody to hey, we all need to tone it down a little bit. We need to tone down our rhetoric. We can agree to disagree. We can have debates and stuff like that. He did tweet out "Unite America," which I thought for him that was pretty good.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, outside of the norm, give him a lot of credit for not being a dick.
You're right.
Yeah.
For not going on about retribution and stuff.
Yeah.
So I said that. I said my piece. Jim? What were your thoughts immediately after when you saw that fist raised, and you're like, there was no party that went, oh shit.
I didn't know what to make. I was actually sitting on my back patio, and my wife got up and walked away, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to turn on the TV and just see what's happening. And I turned it on, and that was happening, like live, like within 30 seconds of it actually happening. And nobody even had the audio of it yet, and I was thinking, at first I thought he was maybe had a brain aneurysm or a stroke. He fell down, and it just kind of grew crescendoed into this drama. And a lot of it was weird. I mean, a lot of things that I saw in that made me pause. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist guy. I mean, I'm just a raw logic, and I do engineering for 11 Gs. I like to see stuff. But all the reactions to the event were really peculiar to me. I've seen other assassination attempts of presidents, and they just whisk that person away. I don't even care if he's shot and unconscious, and they just carry his body. And they didn't do that with Trump. They just stayed there. All of it was weird.
For me, when he was sitting there saying, "Let me put on my shoes," I'm like, what are they doing?
So we got more shoes. And when
did he get blown out of his lips?
For like a headshot and another fist bump. And it was like, whoa, who let that guy stand up and reveal his melon to another sniper? I mean, what's going on? I mean,
that is
in charge
crazy.
here. I mean, I work for the government. We don't do dumb shit that's just like unplanned. And those guys are good. So that was weird. And like I said, I'm not somebody that thinks this was all staged and is tragic. People died, people got hurt, but Trump is sure acting strange. He's not worried about the families that lost a loved one or have somebody in critical care.
Right. He went golfing the next day.
Yeah. I don't know if that's confirmed the golfing thing, but he certainly doesn't get in touch with them or give a shit. I mean, that matters, right? I don't care what you're doing. You're on the toilet or whatever. Fucking give them a call.
Yeah, I mean...
these people died. Those bullets were intended for Donald Trump. He was supposed to die, and those other people died in his place. And he owes those family a little fucking respect. Yeah. I'm disturbed by that.
And I want to give credit to Biden, because all the nasty shit Trump has said to Biden, and Biden called him up and said, "Hey, I hope you're okay."
Yeah. I mean, but what do we expect? Biden's a decent person. He did what every other politician would have done, from Barack Obama down to George Washington. There isn't a son of a bitch that wouldn't have just been a nice, decent person, except for 45. I mean, he can't help himself. He has to be an absolute, may I say it, a cunt. I mean, he just really is the worst of. I've never even heard of another man make the statements he makes. It's disturbing.
Yeah, and Biden, for the record, called the widow today.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
He oozes empathy and decency. Joe Biden's fucking Uncle Joe. Come up and give you a hug. Even if you don't like him or his policies. Yeah. He's a nice guy.
Okay, so we touched on the Secret Service there. Now, back during the first Bush administration, when he was running for re-election, I was on the path, the presidential route. And about 2 hours before he was to pass by, the Secret Service came in, talked to all of us, checked us out and stuff like that. And being 21, I was kind of dumb. I went out and wrote, because it was New Hampshire in February, I wrote Bush in the side of my car in the salt. And so when he passed by, he gave me like the little pointy finger and the thumbs up and that little giggle he does. I'm like, hey, the president acknowledged me. But there were snipers I remember this distinctly, looking at the highest building that was around us, and there was a sniper on the roof. I do not know how this kid got up to that roof.
The cop let him.
The
Like,
cop,
they're-
well, not necessarily let him.
No, but the kid came back with the argument that it's perfectly legal to carry your gun in Pennsylvania, and so the cop said, "Well,
not near a presidential candidate with Secret Service people."
No, I know, but the cop said,
right?
"Yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right about the law." So he left him alone.
So that came out that the cop let
yeah,
him?
yeah, the police officer there.
Really?
Yeah, because the kid argued back with him.
That a police officer had climbed up the ladder on the roof and looked this young man in the eye, and the young man who attempted to shoot former President Trump had looked and pointed the weapon at that police officer, and he went down. I mean, he could die, right? Yeah. And the young man turned around and instantly fired 8 shots at his target. So I'm not certain if he was confronted before that, but the reporting I have, he was confronted, made eye contact with a police officer 1 second before he shot.
But there was also somebody that had noticed him on the roof and was shouting for the police, "Hey, there's a guy on the roof."
Several spectators were literally pointing him out for minutes. I think up to 3 minutes they now know that people were like, "That guy right there with the rifle." You know, there's people recorded wearing Trump hats and shit saying that on the news. So that's alarming.
I mean, this is a massive failure on law enforcement and the Secret Service.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, how you guys have been around for a while, right? How many assassination attempts have we had where a sniper was able to set up? I mean, it's one thing, since Kennedy, which would happen before any of us were born, all presidents have been shot with like a cheap revolver in a crowd or in a street, you can't get near a president. I as an active duty Navy guy, I've met a few presidents, seen a few presidents, but each time we've been in dress uniform, go through metal detectors. We're on the base where we work. I mean, we're the good guys, right? We work for him. But they take no chances. 0 chances. You're not going to get anywhere near any of those people. I don't care who you are. So the fact that somebody could go across and be 140 yards away and then, miss like he did, and all of it's kind of weird. I've been a rifle shot for a long time, a marksman for a long time, and to miss with an AR-15 with a scope in a prone position at 140 yards. I mean, I could shoot a group of 5 in a circle of 2 or 3 inches.
Well, I think it was. I think it was more like just bad timing, because Trump does turn his head, and he sort of glances up. Because I saw a video from another angle. He sort of glances up because he sees a little bit of commotion with the sniper on the roof, and when he turned his head like that, that's when the shot happened, which is probably lucky that it just nicked him.
I guess. I saw General McGaffrey in an interview the other day, and he said an average shot with a rifle like that in that position would normally hit 8 out of 8 rounds. I mean, how could you miss a stationary target? That's bizarre. For people that shoot guns, that's a day at the park. I don't know how to explain that.
Huh.
Yeah. So, maybe the guy's a terrible shot. So, that could be.
Well,
but those were among the weirdest things. When they said he was 140-something yards away, I thought, wow, that's really close for a person with that weapon.
Yeah, so I don't know what happens. Now they're saying they're blaming Joe Biden because she wanted more Secret Service help. And for the record, there are 7,000 Secret Service agents and officers in the United States on it. So I doubt anyone was pulled off Trump's detail to go to Joe Biden.
That was quite a response. There was a lot of people there. Surprised me, to be honest with you, how many people were there.
Okay. So,
in battle rattle and shit.
Yeah. So let's get to the thing like it was staged. Now, to me, here's my take. If it was staged, they would not do it in open field. They would have an assassination attempt as he was getting in a limo somewhere and stuff like that if you were going to go with that. I think the people, and it's mostly on our side, that are saying that it's staged, it's just ridiculous.
I concur. Until you see some evidence otherwise, I think it's ridiculous to speculate that this was a giant conspiracy and there's Secret Service agents that played into this and all that. I think that's absurd. I do. I mean, I'm not a 9/11 conspiratist and none of that. That's I concur.
Yeah. And when you try to say that, like I've had a couple people be like, no, and they're trying to show me evidence. I'm like, okay, explain it to me. Explain to me how that plan would possibly work and to get all the pieces to fall in together. And for him, like you said, oh, well, the WWE, and he had fake blood. He put it on his ear, or he cut himself with a razor.
There's a lot of shit that could go wrong. Yeah. I mean, real people were shot there, right?
Yeah. Plus,
there's a lot of, yeah.
Plus, you saw that picture, right, with a bullet whizzing right past his head?
Yeah.
And then it hits a hydraulic line on the There was this tractor there that was lifting up a bunch of speakers, and it hit the hydraulic line, and you see the speakers go down and stuff like that. So,
well, here's the thing about the Secret Service too: is they're on the job, they're professionals, they're really good at what they do, all that kind of stuff, and they're not going to just let him, their protectee, become some victim, and they go down in history as the biggest failure to let their guy die or something. They're not signed up for that. This is not a conspiracy. Good people are working there. I think a lot of people just assume, because they're so redundant with the Donald Trump bullshit drama lies, that, people just become kind of cynical. That happens. And I think that's part of his formula, is just to make people not believe in anything. Don't have any confidence in anything. Government sucks, blah, blah, blah. So I can see why people arrive at that point, but I don't subscribe to it. I think there's good people surrounding our political officials and presidents, and I don't think there's a conspiracy within those entities to kill people. So
plus, I don't think the people he surrounds himself with are that smart to come up with a plan that brilliant.
No, and like I said, there's a lot that could go wrong. You've got to accept that if this plot gets revealed, that you were staging this and you actually killed American citizens to make yourself the victim, that is not going to wear well. This is an all or nothing thing at that point, right? If you fail at this and somebody leaks it or the plot, I mean, you're fucked. You're done. You've killed these people to make yourself look like a hero with your nicked ear. That ain't going to go well. I can't imagine, calculating bastard like Donald Trump making that kind of a misstep. That's amateur hour there.
Yeah.
That's desperate.
So that brings us to today and the Florida case with the classified documents. It got thrown because of the ridiculous ruling that the Justice Department cannot appoint a special counsel.
Yeah. So I guess things are looking up for Hunter Biden, right?
Yeah, because you have to throw out that ruling too. Don't you have to throw out every ruling by a special counselor ever?
Let's clear Bill Clinton's record. He should have never asked him about the blowjob. I mean, what are we doing here? You're telling me that the Justice Department can't appoint Justice Department officials to be the lead investigator and separate, to avoid political influence and all that? I mean, that's the best thing they could do.
Yep.
The idea that the Attorney General would directly prosecute somebody, a political opponent, that leads into the whole idea of this is partisan and it's law warfare. This is how you separate from that. And that's why they have that special counsel thing, is so he's not reporting to the political appointee of the president himself. She's being a jerk, and it worked.
Well, it was a Trump appointee, so.
Trump plant. I mean, I mean, shit, what did he appoint her on January 3rd of 2021? He'd already lost the election and was plotting the overthrow on January 6th when he appointed her.
I didn't realize that.
And he knew that she would be in charge of that district in which he lived. And any crimes that he committed within that district would fall under her jurisdiction. He absolutely knew that. I mean, he's got smart people talking to him, right?
Is it possible for her to get disbarred? I mean, because I don't really think law is her field.
I mean, it doesn't happen often, but this is approaching that. You know, I can't see, unless the appellate court is shit. This is going to go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, but
of course it will.
Yeah, but that's why Clarence Thomas wrote that in there.
Exactly.
He made that argument.
He questioned that. But notice how none of the other justices signed on with his signatory thing. They concurred with the overall judgment of the immunity, but none of them actually signed on to Clarence's idea that we should also examine the prospect of prosecutors being illegally appointed.
Okay.
So he was on an island. He was one justice that signed that concurrence.
Okay, but since this case got thrown out, now it's going to get appealed. You and I both reached this conclusion shortly after the immunity decision that both of us thought, well, since this information, this evidence cannot be used against him, why not just declassify it and release it and do it strategically before the election? Sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously compromising prosecutorial material that you may not be able to use, but that isn't what really is at stake here. It's preserving the democracy, not allowing him to become a tyrant.
Well, that's why you release the information, so the American people can make the decision to vote accordingly.
Yeah, the most appropriate way would be in the trial process through our judicial system with all those balances in place. But if the Trump campaign and legal advisors will not allow that to happen, I think that we have to take that other approach of releasing that information to the public so they can be informed when they vote. I concur.
Yeah. All right, so that brings up the last topic. They announced the vice president pick, JD Vance, who once compared Trump to Hitler, let's not forget, who could not stand Donald Trump.
He's got some good traits. He's got some qualities for you. Yeah. Who can deny that?
But then something happened.
Yeah, sycophant.
Yeah.
Right now, Trump is. I'm watching the live feed in Milwaukee, and Trump is walking on the stage right now, being introduced at the convention.
Oh, jeez.
And
probably getting a standing ovation.
Yeah. Oh, of course he is. This is his quote. I mean, who else are going to say?
Some of them probably have tears in their eyes. Like, oh my God.
I saw a good post on Facebook that said what he really should have done was played dead for 3 days and then arisen.
Yeah.
You gotta end it all. This is terrible stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, JD Vance, and he's not going to be a Mike Pence. He's not going to be any kind of check and balance. I mean, the guy really doesn't really have all that much political experience either.
He knows what he's signing up for. You're a sycophant. You're a disposable spokesman. If you fuck this up, you're going to die. Like the last guy, right? I mean, he knows what he's signed up for. And he's talking the talk and walking the walk, and Donald Trump picked him for a reason. And I'm sure they had that conversation, and he kissed the ring and said, "Sir, I'll die for you." Sir, I'll die for you, sir.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt that that's what Donald Trump admires most, is somebody that just will worship him, will respect to every word he says. He's not looking for somebody to give him a sounding reason board or any of that stuff. He's really done with that bullshit. He's figured our government out. You put in the people that you need, and they say yes, sir, they make it happen. He's not looking for guardrails.
Which JD Vance is a big proponent of getting rid of all federal government employees and inserting loyalists into those positions, no matter what their qualifications are.
Mm-hmm. Huge impact.
And
not just to our government readiness and military. It's a huge impact.
And where did he get that loyalty from? Was the Project 2025, which literally states that. Now, I was hearing arguments on the right saying, because a lot of people were talking about Project 2025 before what happened Saturday, and just like we're doing, saying democracy will be over, that fueled the hysteria that led to what happened Saturday.
Interesting. So they're basically proposing that if people point out their crimes and treasonous plans, then one of their own people will take a crack at their presidential candidate. That's the argument.
They said they said it led to the hysteria that some lunatic on the left would take a shot at the president.
Right, that didn't end up happening. It was actually a Republican with Trump signs in his yard and all that shit. So it's like, who shut up the school? Oh, it wasn't a Democrat again. This is a systemic problem in America. Donald Trump has cultivated violence and gun culture, and now he's a victim of it. Right. Why is anybody surprised? I mean, frankly, to be honest, just stepping back and saying, if I was an observer here and not passionate, I'm surprised Donald Trump doesn't have somebody shooting him every day. I mean, the shit he says, the positions he takes, I'm shocked this is the first time this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, just with the racism problem in America, I'm surprised it never happened to Obama.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, same thing. And that makes me question, what kind of threats have been there. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you, hey, another 100 threats came in on the president last month. They don't want you to do that. The copycat thing, all that stuff. But there was a lot of presence at Donald Trump's attempted assassination. There was a lot of security people helping him on the stage. There was people in battle rattle with rifles. And, guys in flak jackets, helmets, NVG goggles on there. I mean, I don't go to a lot of those political rallies and stuff, but wow, is that normal? There was a lot of people there ready for something really bad to happen.
Well, and Trump himself had a bulletproof vest on because he kind of, when he went down, he couldn't exactly go down quickly. He kind of stumbled down because you have a bulletproof vest on, you're not going to be able to easily bend over and crouch.
But how much of a factor is that in Donald Trump's everyday movements and campaigning? I was unaware, to be honest, as a follower of a lot of news and really being into this kind of stuff. I'm really unaware of the threat index that Donald Trump or the current president are currently facing.
Right.
They don't publicize that, and we don't know. But it really seemed like there was a lot of people there, and I'm wondering if the former president is having a lot of that kind of. I'm not sure.
Well, and then back to Project 2025, and they were given Biden. They wanted to investigate Biden because he had said, "Well, now I'm gonna put a bullseye on Trump." And Biden did not exactly mean that as a threat at all. It was just, I think he was just trying to talk tough more than anything. But when the guy that founded the Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation, came out and said, we're in the middle of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless unless the left allows it.
Submit or die. How quaint.
Right.
I've got a response for that. Come and take it. Come and take my freedoms. Come and take my family's life here and our defense of this Constitution. my wife, Sonia, and I have defended this country our entire lives. I ain't quitting tomorrow. For somebody to say something like that, some, I don't know, academic or pencil neck, or I don't think he was ever a soldier, I dare him to come by my house and take away, what's mine. So I'm insulted when, the Republican Party endorses and promotes those kind of fascist and authoritarian messages. It's an offense to constitutionalist and loyalist to this country. I'm fucking sickened by it.
Well, I'm just trying to make the comparison of they're going after Biden for what he said. There's a bullseye on you, and comparing it to that. I think both sides need to look at how we are speaking to each other. And not like Democrats do it. Democrats don't do it that often. And when they do, it's very mild.
Of course. And like Joe Biden himself explained it during an interview with Lester Holt today, he didn't say crosshairs. You're not looking through a rifle scope at somebody. A bullseye is a target for a lot of things. It's a goal. And he tried to explain that away in Joe Biden's stammering fashion, and it didn't sell very well. But I knew what he meant. Yeah. I knew he didn't mean like, hey, somebody had to go shoot this jerk. He's not that person, right? And he's not that unconventionally clever where he couldn't figure out how to do that without just saying it on the news, too. That's the other thing. If the President of the United States orders somebody dead, whether it be Osama bin Laden or Salami that Trump killed, they didn't tell anybody before that person was killed. Yeah. So Joe Biden didn't just go out and give an order to kill Donald Trump by saying bullseye. So, the disingenuous kind of deflection of their own projection of their own violence. Fuck those guys. I have you guys have been endorsing people shooting up schools and all that. You don't care. Paul Pelosi. Nobody cares about political violence until somebody shoots at their prick. So they're insincere. I don't have to answer to them.
Yeah. So we'll end this on a more positive note. After talking with my kids about what had happened Saturday, my oldest, who's old enough to vote now, had been apathetic about registering to vote because he's like, well, I don't like either candidate. And, I was like, well, I can understand, but you have to vote for the issues. And I started talking about Project 2025 and what that could seriously mean. And he said, can you get me a voter registration form by next weekend? And I was like, absolutely, because he's voting for Biden.
Oh, good job.
That is good news. Thank you for sharing that. I'm inspired by that. I remember when I took my youngest daughter to vote for the very first time, and it was right around the corner from our house, and it was the second term for Obama, and seeing my little girl vote and stand up and what she believed in and stuff, that meant the world to me. So bravo to you, Michael, and your son. So pass that on.
So pay that forward. So we couldn't be all doom and gloom here.
Yay! Good news.
Well, at least when the coup ends, we can talk about all this upbeat stuff and how our kids are growing and they still have rights and shit. We can do that.
Well, I shared a little story with you earlier, and I had told Snow what you had said about, well, maybe it's time to get a backup plan. I may be coming out to see you in San Diego pretty soon. I hear you. So just in case, worst case scenario, just
things are weird.
Have a backup plan.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim, and you'll be here maybe in October. I'm
gonna try. Yeah.
Yeah. Right before the election, it'll be great to have you on.
Yeah.
And because God knows where we'll be by October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Jim. Well, thank you for joining us yet again.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks,
and I guess this is where we say thank you for your service, and not like we believe in God, but God bless America, and hopefully this all turns out right.
Yeah. Well, as many people can stand behind it, so that's what we need.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jim, and we will talk
Take
to you
care,
soon.
guys.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.